Dr. Cutter with Chainsaw Hospital, and this is part two for Dalton, the Husqvarna 266XP series. So if you missed part one, check it out. It's going to be right here, and then that'll also be the link to the playlist. So if there's this part three, which I'm not sure. Yeah, it'll be a part three actually. So for sure. But for today, so what we're going to be doing for part two, we're going to be reassembling Dalton back to an operational state. If you saw in the last video, took a little bit of patient history and figured that out. But I'm going to get you in here pretty close here, and we're going to get this thing back together. But I did end up getting this the stud put back in. I got it out of the muffler. Literally just put a pair of pliers on the end of it and ran the nut off, and then threaded it right back into the cylinder. So that's all we needed there. All right, so so let's get in here and we can get started on getting kind of this thing to a point where it will start up by itself and run. I'm hoping that the carburetor will be okay. The fuel line looks great, so I don't think this sat very long. In fact, I believe the fellow had it running. It just had a recoil issue was the main hold up, but we got that fixed. Remember in part one, we got that going. Let's get all of the stuff back on so we can maybe start this thing up with some gas in the tank and just and see if it'll actually run on its own. All right, so we got Dalton here, and let's see, we got our air filter. We're just gonna go ahead and put that back on there. All right, so in our little bin of parts, we have the gasket here. Set that there, and our muffler bracket. That should be two nuts down in here. So it looks like we have one there, 8mm, 5/16, but 8mm is really what they are. That's all we need. Oh, that's right. And then we've got this little bolt here, 4mm Allen head, and there should be a really long one in here. Yes, it is. Good. All right, so we got this one here, this longer one here. Okay. So kind of clean these up a little bit, get some gunk off of there. Oh, before we put this back together, what we need to do is clean this this gunk out of the underneath the exhaust. So I'd like to get that kind of dulled up a little bit, because no better time than the present to get that mess out of there. So it looks like there's just some stuff. I'll blow this out with my compressed air later on, but let's just scrape all this mess out of here. That'll help it run cooler. That's generally how I do it. I just scrape it all this bottom, and then I use you can see I use the wide part of the screwdriver. Then what I'll do is I'll just dump this over into the trash bin. That gets rid of a lot of it right there, just like that. And you've got the seam here in the middle where the gasket actually is. There's the gasket right in the middle. You kind of go in there and just bust that up. And let's see, that's plenty good. Okay, great. So we've got that cleaned up. Now we can put our gasket in place. Maybe if we can get it to slide on there. Great. Alright, that is in place. Now we need our muffler. Exhaust side goes over here toward the bar mount. It slides in place. That looks perfect. So we can go ahead and put our bracket in place now. And that slides, so I can show you that. That just goes underneath of the fouling spike, the dog, and then attaches right there. So you've got this lined up and you got your 2 studs in, and then that goes below there. So this takes this this screw right here. See what we'll do before we do that. We're going to put a little blue Loctite on these screws just so they don't rattle loose, because I have seen them back out before. So I've got this stick of Loctite 248. Again, just putting a little bit on there. Not much. Let's clean that mess out while we're here. I've got our Loctite ready to go. Slide that right down in the hole. Kind of wiggle and jiggle it to get it lined up right. And then thread it in. We can go ahead and tighten this up, because everything else is lined up ready to go. Same thing with this one. We're just going to put a little bit of that blue Loctite on there. Thread that into the front end of the case. And I think these are supposed to be lock nuts at the front here. So we won't put any Loctite on there. We don't want them to kind of stick, and I'm sure the muffler will get plenty hot to where the the Loctite will bake off of it. Well, it might make it harder to get off. I don't know. But we're not going to put any on there either way. This is just a 5/16 nut driver. Okay. Alright, so we got our muffler on. All of that's back together. And we've got our air filter on there. You know, hindsight being 20/20, I think I should take off the air filter, and I'll just prime it with a little bit of fuel so we can get that thing running a little bit easier. And it's only 2 screws, so let's take that back off of there. Next up, we're going to go ahead and put some gas in the tank. Some 2-cycle mix, and my blood type of choice is Opti 2, and see if I can find some for you here. There we go. So I like to use Opti 2. You can get this, I'll put some links down below, so check out the description to see where you can get this. Very nice, a very nice product. Anyways, I haven't had any issues with 2 strokes since I've been using it, and I've been using it for 10 years now. So I didn't have any issues with the Echo Power Blend I was using either. That's a good product. I just really like that Opti 2. I tried it out first in those little sleeves that you can get that are like a 1-gallon mix, and now that I've got the big jug, I can mix it up however I want. You know, I can mix it up 50-1, 40-1. I usually do 50-1. You know, Opti 2 says you can run their stuff at 100-1, and I just don't do that. But if you do, that's cool. I would love to hear about it, actually. If you've been running your 2-cycle stuff at 50-1. I'll tip this over. That fuel line might be leaking there. We might be changing the fuel line out. No, it's not. Okay, everything's good. In fact, we're going to go ahead and push that grommet back in place. Remember that grommet had slid out? There it goes. Yep. So it just sits down in there. Just keeps dirt from below getting into your air box up here. Alright, so we've got our little squeezy bottle. Give her a little sniff of 2-cycle mix, and I'm going to back you guys up here so you can see me pull on this thing, and we'll see if we can get this thing running on its own. Pull it over a few times just to maybe suck some of that gas in there, kind of dump it in there like that, and you know, because it's just piston ported anyways. There you go. Alright, so let's back you up and we'll see if we can get this thing running. Here we go. Got that fuel down in there. You can kind of see it sloshing around a little bit. So I've got my ignition switch. Okay, we'll turn it on, and let's see what happens. We know we've got spark. We know we had it running with a little bit of this. Let's see what happens here. All right, it tried to start. Let's pull it again. Okay. It might just be trying to pull that fuel in there. Let's try it again. It started right up, ran okay. And you can see that oiler was absolutely just pumping oil out. It's just making a mess all over the place, so which is good. That's great. Clutch drum bearing feels okay. It's not the best. Let's go ahead and put a little grease down in here. This is a grease port, actually, if you didn't know that. These 266s, let's clean up a little bit of that gunk out of there. It looks like there's some trash down in there. Here we go. And so this should pump grease right out into the grease bearing, the bearing here for the clutch drum, and get that going there. And that should be all. Oh yeah, you can actually feel it's kind of sticky now where the grease got in there, so that's perfect. All right, so I think what we'll do, we'll go ahead and get the dental work done, get that chain sharpened up, and check that bar over. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Here's the chain. You can see it doesn't have much of a gullet to it. That gullet would be, let me get a pointing device for you. The gullet would be this kind of area here, just a little bit, but not nearly as much as I'd like to see. And you can see the tips of these teeth are just completely rounded over. So this looks like a job for the grinder. And what we're going to first do, though, is clean this chain up, and I'm going to put it in some solvent and try to knock some of this grease and dirt off of here. So let's go ahead and do that and get this thing drying out before we put it on the grinder itself, kind of. That looks a lot better, nice and shiny, not all that dirt and grease all over it. Got a little bit of rust on there, just a little bit more junk on there. Might get some fresh solvent here and do that again. Yeah, I got some nice clean stuff here. And we'll slide the chain down in there. Doing this really helps clean up, keep your grinding wheel clean. Because, man, this stuff will get in there and just gum that wheel up. Then you'll start rolling edges over. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was a lot better than it was. Alright, let's work on this bar here. We've got a Timber Ridge. It looks like it's a 72 driver 3/8 50. 20 inch 3/8 50 gauge 72 driver. I'm going to use the Chainsaw Curette. This is a tool I designed myself and have manufactured, and I actually sell these. So if you're interested, just get in contact with me. Email will be in the about page, or I'll put something down in the description. So check that out on there. But the multi-purpose tool. We're going to set our rakers with this tool. We're going to clean the bar groove out, and we're also going to scrape this bar off. So the first thing we'll do is we'll start here, and we'll just use this to completely scrape off all that gunk. And what an amazing job that does. Let's get this side too. You can see all this just junk all over it. This works really well if you're in the field. You don't have a rag with you or whatever. You can keep this thing cleaned up. And you can see this oil hole right here. That's what this hook is designed to do. The hook is designed to push this debris into the bar groove, and then you're able to swipe it right out of there. And it might push it back, you know, first time you do it, but eventually you will get it completely cleaned out, and you're just pushing it. There you go. So you can see now that oil hole is completely cleaned out, no compressed air. And all I'm doing here is I'm just hooking this into the groove, and then we are cleaning all that junk out of there. Nice. Looks like we pushed a little bit more in the oil hole, and that's okay. Here we go again, back up top. And we are swiping again, looking great. Push that mess in there, pull that junk out. Nice. That's it. Oil hole's clean, bar groove is clean. And let's do this side. Yeah, this oil hole was plugged up too. So I can probably tell you this was not getting oil to the bar the last time it was being ran. But that's why we're here, right? We're going to fix it up and get it back. So Dalton will be back in the wood again. Really, really nice. Okay, so we got that, and then this little flat part right here above this finger dimple. This finger dimple is for putting your finger into while you clean that out. The flat part is for getting in here like this and scraping that mess out of there. You see all that junk that got built up. Don't have to do that, but man, it sure does make it nice. Okay, both oil holes are clean. You can see the other side of the bar all the way in there, and both grooves are clean. So we're ready to go. So we can go ahead and grease this tip up. Well, actually, before we do all that, we're gonna dress this bar. This has got a little bit of a ridge built up. It's not, yeah, you can kind of, there you go. I'm just sliding it down, and it's actually getting caught on that burr. And this is another use for this tool, is actually to check for a bar groove burr, or I'm sorry, a bar rail burr, because it's nice and square, and it'll actually stop right there. So I like to use my little sander. So let's go ahead and grab that. It's Milwaukee M12 sander polisher. I've got this roll lock sanding disc on here, and I think this is 80 grit. Golly, I don't even know, whatever it is. That's what you'll need, just a sanding disc, basic stuff. It's kind of nice. You can do it with a file. You don't need this special stuff, but man, it sure does make it nice. So what that's going to do is just remove that burr that built up on the on that edge right there. And this is the side we really need to do. Yep. And that is gone end for end, and we're going to do this last edge. You can see that sure does make quick work of it. And I'm going to wipe this down with a rag. Actually, we're going to run our bar dresser across here just to square the edges up, or just to check the squareness, and go from there. Not in the best of shape. There's some really kind of messed up stuff right here, but you know, it'll cut wood. That's the main thing, right? I got it kind of wiped down. You can see the rails are good and shiny. This down here still got a burr. Let's knock that back. Got our bar rail dresser here. This is the model number and everything. And I'll put a link to the description in the description for this. Check down below. And so this is how you use it. You just hold the bar straight, and then you just slide this down here. And we're just checking to see how much actually gets removed off of it. One side's higher than the other, because this rides square on your bar, so it just removes any tall spots in the rail. So what I'm going to do is just go along here, just slide this along. Alright, done a little work to this, and you can clearly see this rail over here was way taller than this one over here. And what causes that is a chain that is not sharpened properly. And that's going to actually try to pull the chain while it's cutting to one side. Instead of being square with the rails, it'll pull it over that way. When that happens, it rubs down the opposite side there, so it really kind of wears into it. So not good, not worse, not the worst, but more work just to get it squared up, or just replace your bar. But there's no reason in throwing this one away. It's definitely savable. We'll keep working on this, and we'll get this other side going too. All right, got the bottom side. You can see both rails are nice and shiny. Went ahead and got those kind of cleaned up. Didn't really worry about this much down here. But yeah, I got everything squared up, evened off. Checked for straightness, you know, sighted down the bar to make sure it was good and straight, and it is. So that's the main thing. So this is ready to go. Other than greasing the tip, let's do that while we're here. Put a little bit. So that's what this little hole is. There's one on this side and one on the other. And it didn't want to take any grease. Okay. Let's try the other side. And that one took grease. Okay. I like to roll it around, and then I'll wipe this old junky dirt off. Put another pump in there. Roll that around. See if we got any more black kind of stuff coming out of there. We do. And another one. There we go. Nice and clean that time. So we know we got plenty in there. Kind of clean that up a little bit. Perfect. Alright, so that's ready for chain to go on there. Chain is dried out. You can see there's a couple of rusty spots. I'm not worried about those at all. It's more like surface rust on there. You can see it wipes right off. Not sure if something dripped on it wherever it was stored. But it is ready for the grinder. So let's go ahead and take this into the grinder. And I keep that in another area so I don't get all that grinding dust all over my workbench. So let's head over there and get going with that. Got our chain here in the Oregon 520-120 grinder. We're going to set this angle here to 55 degrees in the back. And you do that by loosening up. There's a thumb screw or a big hand screw back here, and then you set it to 55 degrees. I'm going to go to 0 down angle on here. So I'm just going to set this outer line here. See if I can get you in here and show you. This outer line right here is actually set right to 55. So that's where we want it. And then you just tighten down the angle over there. And see, so we got that. And now we're going to set the top plate angle here. Always like to start this direction here. It seems to, at least on my grinder, when I move over to this side, when I rotate it this way, I always need to just add a little bit. So it's not like you're going to accidentally cut more. I don't know if that's a setting that's off on mine, but I'm going to use 25 degrees right here and tighten down this screw. And I've actually got it written on mine, start right here, in case I forget. And see, so we're going to bump this up. I backed out my stop here. I like this. This is a new or different thumb wheel. This is a piece of plastic that I pressed in a nylock nut because I was having a hard time keeping this backstop nut on there. It would kind of like loosen itself up and change its location. So I'm just going to gently tighten that down real quick. I'm just going to check with the grinder to see kind of where it comes. It looks like it needs to advance quite a bit. So what I'm going to do is hold this nut back here. This nut right here, I'm going to hold that, and then I'm just going to turn this in righty-tighty. And that's going to move this whole assembly forward. Set you back up right there. There's a lot of moving parts. I usually don't like carrying you guys around, but that's what we have to do. So once we do that, we need to kind of adjust this knob right here, because I'm not going down far enough because it's hitting its stop. So there it goes. I'm going to back this off a little bit now, this one here, because it was kind of hitting it. There we go. So I need to back this off a little bit more. Hopefully you guys can see down inside of there. So I'm not going to go too low. We don't want to cut through our cutter strap here. So we're going to advance that a little bit and check and see if we're actually hitting the tooth. And we are not yet. So I'm just going to advance it a little bit more. And it appears that it's hitting the tooth, but this angle is sharpened to like 40 degrees or something. This chain is way off. It's actually, this one's got a compound angle. It's got a one that's kind of perpendicular to the chain, and then one that's way back here, almost back like this. And so this chain is just way off. So we're gonna end up removing quite a bit of material off of it just to get it back where we want it. I'm just eyeballing that I'm going to catch all of the misangled top plate here. So let's go ahead and get the grinder on and see if we can get what we got. I got my safety glasses on, got my gloves on, keep all that powder off my hands. So let's go. All right, so we're lowering the grinding wheel onto the tooth, taking short bites. I'm just going to take this adjustment here and turn it in, and that'll bring the wheel up a little bit so it doesn't quite go so deep. Okay, that looks pretty good. Yeah, it's grabbing this rubber glove pretty good. So I'm just feeling for a rolled over edge that might be rounded on the top plate. Usually, if your stone is nice and clean by dressing it, which I don't need to dress this stone, it's completely fine the way it is. But what I'm doing is, let me get you in here a little closer so you guys can see this. Let me turn this off here, because this is good stuff. Alright, got a nice downward view here. And what I'm going to do is use this piece of wire as a pointer. So hopefully you guys can see that. So you can see now that this tooth has been cut back far enough to remove that kind of double bevel that's on this one here. Hopefully you guys can see all this, but that's what I did. So I just adjusted it and I kind of eyeballed it so it cut off all that material there that is not usable anymore, and it gave us a nice sharp cutting corner right there. So we'll worry about the rakers when we get done sharpening all the teeth, but what I'm going to do is go around this right hand side now, and we're going to sharpen all these teeth. Gotta remove that, round it off. Here, let's go to the next one. I'll show you. This tooth here is the next one. So you can see that this cutter tooth is completely squared off. This is smashed to death. This will not cut at all, really. I mean, this would be very frustrating to use at that, at this type of sharpness. So again, I'm not moving the adjustments at all. I'm just using the adjustments I have to go ahead and remove what metal is necessary to get this chain sharp. So I'm going to keep going around this chain. We're looking at all these crazy things that I find. There's a side profile of the sharpened tooth right there in the middle of my fingers right here. And you can see that's nice and sharp and ready to go. So again, going to move forward, getting the rest of these knocked back, and we'll be back when we change over to the left-hand cutters. All right, we got done with our right-hand cutters here, looking good. Got a nice sharp corner to them all. Knocked them back quite a bit. I saw some of them on there that actually looked like they were almost, they hit, perpendicular to the chain, like there was zeros, like almost like a ripping chain. But either way, 10 degrees maybe. Either way, so we're going to move this now to 25 degrees on this side. Again, no down angle or anything weird like that. No need. This works fine the way it is. Just want something that'll cut for these guys. So, yeah. So next up, we need to measure this tooth. And what we're going to use is a set of calipers here. And so what I like to do is get down in the gullet of it and get a measurement. So that says it's 238 thousandths right there. That's great. Okay, so now what we need to do is advance to our left-hand cutter, next one, and tighten that down. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look and see how much that's going to hit, and it does not look like it's going to hit it all. Again, like I said, I know it's weird, but these left-hand cutters actually, so that is at 300 thousandths right there. So we got quite a bit to take off. And if you use different angles, actually I do want to tell you that if you use different angles than what I'm using, I'd love to hear what angles you use and why. Have you done some testing? Is it just preference? Is that what your dad did? Which is fine. All those are fine. As long as we are cutting wood and having a good time, I am happy with all of that. So we've got this tightened down. We've got it set at 25. We did not change this angle back here, so we're good. So let's turn this on. Take a couple hits on this. Let's see where we are at with that, because that's how far I had to go back to get it right. So now that is at 220 thousandths. So that is significantly less than the other side. But that tooth was exceptionally bad. So let's advance it now. We'll get on a different tooth. We'll just compensate with that one raker. So what we're going to do is to push this forward. Oops, back it up. And set that up again, and we'll just start from scratch on this side. So we were looking in for 238 thousandths somewhere in there. So let's see, that didn't even touch the top plate, so let's see where we're at with that. You don't have to do all this, because the way we set our rakers with the Chainsaw Curette, we will not need to have them all the same length. I just know how much I need to take off. I'll tell you why we're doing that. When I hold it there for a second, it's not that I'm really grinding hard on that. It's I'm just kind of cleaning up that edge a little bit. What I call like sparking out. There, that's 238 on the nose for that tooth. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, so this one here is another one of those situations. I don't know if it shows up well. Zero gullet, it's leaning back like really hard, and I don't even know if I'll be able to get this to 238 because the top has been filed back so far. It's like somebody smashed it with a rock or something and then just tried to hit it with a file. So let's see what happens. Let's try this. Yeah. So hopefully you can see that. But this tooth, it got hit down here, but the actual cutting edge never got touched. So what I'm going to have to do is, again, manually kind of advance that to actually hit the grinder wheel. There we go. So that finally got that. But again, it's okay because our Curette will take care of that. So I'm just going to go around the chain here. That left side really got hit hard. Something happened over there. But that's okay. We'll just keep going with what we're doing. We'll set this back up for the 238 or so and continue on our journey of sharpening these smashed teeth. These teeth on the left side have no gullet, are leaned way back, were way shorter. I doubt these rakers were ever touched. In fact, we can check those real quick and see how much was not even being used. Yeah, so right there, this tooth, the raker is actually touching that straight edge that's above it. It's actually touching it. So this tooth was exposed to hardly anything. So you can see now why it's so important to have your chain properly sharpened and everything kind of even and correct before you're out cutting with it, because you're going to ruin things that should not wear that quickly, because that bar, I mean, it barely had any time on it. No, it's not the best bar. I'm sure it's not the hardest metal, but nonetheless, you could have avoided some of these things by taking a few minutes just to get it right. So that's what we're doing now. So the guy that actually owns it, he knew that. He did a great job trying to get in touch with somebody who said, and he said, I'd like to get it right, and I want it cutting right. So here we go. I'm going to keep going around this chain and sharpen it, and we'll get right back with you. I got all the left-hand cutters sharpened up, and man, they are ready to go. So next up, we need to get our rakers set properly, but we are going to do that in the operating room, the Chainsaw Hospital, and we're going to do it actually on trauma 1, the table that we normally work at. I didn't know. Yeah, so let's get these set down to, we'll set them at 25 thousandths below the cutter tip right here, so it'll actually be 25 thousandths exposed of the cutter like that to the wood. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to take this raker off right here in front of it and make that right. So let's go do that. Got our air filter here, might as well go ahead and put that on, and we might as well go ahead and put on the top cover too. I'm feeling pretty good about this saw. These things are usually pretty tough, and they hold up. Man, they hold up well. Golly. Oops. Alright, so let's get this top cover on here. And get in there. Be stubborn. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to need a Phillips. Makes it a little bit easier on this side right here. Put these guys in. And then we'll need a T25. So yours probably won't have all that going on. Again, this top cover broke. Somebody decided to do that, and my glove just split. So that's okay. We're just about done anyways. So this is ready to go. So we'll go ahead and get the bar installed. This is so exciting because this is like getting close to the end for this. So I'm just going to hang it off there like that. And usually I do it on its side, or on its bottom like that, but I want to show you guys, and this is how I've got the camera set up. So just placing the chain around the bar tip and making sure we have it pointed the right way. Man, that thing is grabbing my gloves. It is sharp, sharp. And again, not used to doing it on its side like this, but there we go. I kind of left the tensioner in the same spot it was in, and just kind of had to get it all lined up. Just checking for proper movement. All that works well. And next up is our, we are missing something. Oh, yes, we are. We are missing this plate right here. I'm sure you guys were yelling at me in the camera. You were telling me, oh, Dr. Cutter, you are leaving parts off of the saw. And I was like, oh gracious. So we got it now. I heard you. Pull all that back apart after we fought so hard to get it on there. Get this little plate installed here. There we go. Alright, back on with the bar. If you guys have ever done that, just let me know. That would be awesome. I'd love to hear about it. You know, I'm sure, have you guys ever left the gas cap off, or the oil cap? My favorite's the oil cap. That's the one I leave off. And then I pick a saw up after it's laid on its side, and it dumps bar oil all over the tailgate. Again, my favorite thing to do is to dump bar oil everywhere. Alright, well that went back together fairly well. maybe the first time it was giving me such a fit. Old Dalton here was trying to tell me, hey, you're forgetting something. You need to get your little bar pad plate on there. We figured it out, right? So just tightening these up, and what I am going to do is lay the saw on its bottom now, like normal. I guess like you would set it down. And the reason for that is so I can pick up. What we're going to do is pick up on the bar nose here, and we're going to tighten up the tensioner while we do that, and make sure the chain is actually in the groove. And what we'll do is we'll use our ratcheting wrench here to move the chain around. We don't want to use our fingers because this thing is legitimately razor sharp now. And that's good. I want it tightened up enough to where those tie straps just barely touch the bottom of the chain. So they're loose right now. Hopefully you can hear that. And then we're gonna tighten the tensioner up righty-tighty until those tie straps just touch the bottom, and that's it, just like that. And I'm going to hold up on the bar nose while I tighten up this back nut first. There we go. Alright, now moving up toward the front nut. Same thing. And that's enough to hold it now. I'm going to put a little bit more onto them by holding the back of the saw with my hand and pushing down on it. And this is an important thing. I've done this. I forgot to do this one time and it bit me. I want to rotate that chain around a couple times and make sure it's working properly, not out of the rim sprocket in the back. This one happens to have a rim sprocket on it. But yeah, that glove is toast now. Okay, well, Dalton is back together. We got our teeth all sharp here, ready to go. Now we need to set these depth gauges, rakers, drags, whatever you want to call them. So we're going to use the Chainsaw Curette, and this is available through the Chainsaw Hospital here. So you can email me, and we can get that going. There might be another method to purchase it, which that will be available in the description. So be sure to check that description, and the email will be in the description also. So either way, you saw all the usefulness of the hook. We got the bar groove cleaned out, and the file size if we needed to use that. We scraped the bar off with this straight edge back here. That was really nice. And now we can set our raker. So it's again, we're going to set it up for a hard setting, so you can see that this is actually protruding just a little bit from there, which is good. That's what we need. So what we're going to do is just hold this on there like that. We'll just use our file, and you can see it's still sticking out just a little bit. I like to actually put a block of wood underneath of the bar while I'm doing this, and that'll help keep that thing from bouncing around on us so bad, especially for the video. But usually it's not too bad if you're doing it. There we go. So that's it. Tap our file out, and there we go. So you can kind of feel it just start to slip on it. That means it's gotten down where it needs to go. So you can see now that depth gauge has been sharpened down to the exact height that needs to be, and that should be 25 thousandths. And you can use these bumps if your chain doesn't allow the this part of it to be used, the actual holes that we set it to. You can still file it by hand. You just run it down like this, and then you can use this gauge here, and so it's not hitting the 25, and over here it is actually hitting the 35. So yeah, it was dragging right across there. So we know now we have our raker set at 25. So we're going to go around the chain here, and we're going to go ahead and do this one, get started with this one. And you can come at it actually at an angle, and that seems to help that squealing sound. And so yeah, so we're going to go ahead and sharpen all these, or knock all these back, and we'll be ready to do some test cuts in part 3. Let's take Dalton outside, start him up, and rev it up a few times, and we'll wrap up part 2. Part 3 will be in the wood with some test cuts. So let's go outside. Alright, so we got Dalton here. We got some gas in there. Went ahead and put a little bit of bar oil in here. Just not even topped it off. Actually just add a little bit. So turning our ignition switch on, which is away from the trigger. On this one it might be flipped upside down. On yours I don't know, but at least on this one it is. I'm going to set the trigger lock. We're going to pull the choke out. You probably won't need all that, but let's see if we can get it to pop nonetheless. Doing the between the leg thing here. Muffler's good and tight. I'm just doing a quick sanity check. Chain is good, bar is good. Should be ready to go. Alright, here we go. Okay, so it popped with the choke pulled out. We're going to push the choke in but leave the trigger lock active, holding the throttle open just a little bit. Just a little bit. What I'm going to do is turn it in until I hear it really rev up, and then I'm going to back it out until I hear it kind of start to flutter a little bit. Okay, I can kind of hear it fluttering there a little bit, but I'm going to run it in just a little bit more. Okay, did you hear how it stumbled a little bit there? That means it's a little too lean now, so I'm going to back it out probably about where I had it, where I can hear it start to flutter. Okay, I don't really like that. I'm going to lean it out just a little bit more. Not much. I'm just turning it a 16th of a turn, a 32nd of a turn, not much. Okay, 4 strokes and it went right to too high of a rev. So I'm going to back it out just a little bit. Now this will probably have to be changed if it gets colder out, but it's good enough for now. That's pretty good. I might back it out just a little bit more. That's pretty much got it. Just another squeak out. There it goes. I don't know if you can hear that. Hopefully you could. But to get away from that, we can talk a little bit better. I just want to let it run a little bit just so we can hear it. But I don't know if you can hear that, but you can hear it kind of, you know, going up and down, up and down, up and down, and that's exactly where I wanted it. When it was too lean, it just went up and just stayed up. And when it was too rich, it was just you know, just kind of down, fall on its nose. But when it's just right, it's kind of going in and out of that 4-stroke, and you'll hear it when it touches that wood. It'll clean right up and smooth right out. So there we go. So Dalton is idling. Man, amazing piece of equipment. So let me cut this thing off. Okay, we're just going to try a 1-pull restart to see if Dalton likes to start right back up. It's been off for just a couple minutes now. No choke, no throttle lock or anything. Got the ignition switch on again between the legs, and I'm just going to pull it over to that next cycle there. And here we go. Let's try it out. That's great. Okay, so yeah, so that's it for part 2 for Dalton. I think Dalton is ready to go in the wood. Got the chain sharp. Looks like we need to retension that. Looks like after we kind of ran it a little bit, the chain kind of sagged a little bit, but we can fix that, no problem at all. This thing is sharp. All right, well there's the end of part 2. Be sure to check out part 1 over here if you have not, or part 3. Actually, sorry, yes, part 3 will be up here if you're watching this later. If you haven't seen those yet, make sure you check those out. So yeah, got everything sharpened up, ready to go. We're gonna head over to some test logs we've got over there. It's a 20-inch bar, very capable of pulling that, no problem at all. So thanks for watching, guys. We really appreciate you being here, and again, be sure to check out part 3. So remember, keep your chain sharp and stay safe.